who is going to help Wojtek fit his saddle for his bike. We've already done some preliminary work. Tim, do you want to talk just briefly about that?
Briefly, we've kind of calculated out the saddle height to start from using a rough estimate of his inseam times 0.885. Will get us in a starting point from the center of the crank to the top of the seat. That'll give us a starting point. Again, we'll have to adjust anything from there based on his shoes, his cleat system that he is using. Once we have that, so that he has about a 20 degree, between a 20 to 30 degree knee bend at the bottom of the stroke, we will then look at a little bit of fore and aft and saddle tension.
Okay. So, Wojtek, how are you feeling with your hips and your knee bend at this point?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable.
This is comfortable?
So it could be pretty close to the sweet spot at this moment.
Okay. And Tim, what do you see in terms of fore and aft when you look at Wojtek's feet?
Based on the bike fit and stuff, we'll have to adjust the saddle based on seat angle and stuff like that. We have a fair amount of travel on the rails. His Wojtek pedals here. We look like we have him pretty close. Maybe I might slide him back just a fraction.
All right, let's take a moment and just do that. Just stand up for a moment and we'll adjust the saddle backwards just a bit.
We have on our saddles here, we have a fairly long adjustability on the rails, as can be witnessed on this section here. I do tend to find, because of the way a general leather saddle is with a metal frame and the nose piece and it's slung, while you can slide back on the seat to ride up hills and stuff like that and get power, you don't necessarily want to sit back there for a long term, so you want to kind of be sitting up in the area on our saddle where the divots are, so you're just inside the hook of the frame with your sit bones. So I tend to find, even though we have longer rails, we tend to be back on the rails just a little bit on these seats. Let me see if I can go the correct way and loosen that up. Obviously, the fit is, we'll start here and then we can
There we go.
maybe it's a touch much, but we can come back to that.
So as we adjust the saddle backwards a bit, what we're going to find is that Wojtek is going to have to bend from his hip bones more and bring his whole torso back forward, keeping his back straight, which is a much more appropriate position for riding. He will find that he has less shoulder and back strain.
What I want to make sure is that we get Wojtek set up on the back, on the seat angle. That looks a little bit better. Then we can deal with the reach and the stem and the length of that on the second part. We can adjust the stem length if we need to, but we want to make sure we're taking care of his position.
If you look at his position here, you can see that he is bending from his hips and maintaining a nice flat back.
How does that feel to you?
It feels pretty good. It feels better. I'm more relaxed. I can feel I can put more miles on this bike without feeling the strain.
You look better over the pedals, and then we could come back and fit the length, the reach of the stem and stuff if we need to.
So that's the basics of it.
That's the basics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, in terms of tilt, Tim, are we going to do anything with tilt for Wojtek here?
We will ask Wojtek a bit more about how it feels. We want to make sure that I like to usually set the saddle up fairly flat. It will have some give. With the rails, as we're clamping on the front end of the rails, a lot of times we may get just a little bit of spring out of the rails, being chromoly rails. So we don't necessarily want to have the nose up too much and then create a little extra spring and a little extra nose pressure. That's the one consideration that...
So are you feeling pressure from the nose of the saddle at this point?
Just a little bit, and I think tweaking a little bit with the angle could determine which position is the most comfortable for me.
All right, let's try that, shall we? One of the things that's really important with this saddle is that when you make changes, we want to make them in very small increments. 1 degree, maybe 2 degrees, and then start again, ride again a little bit, and see if that small adjustment has made the difference that is important for you.
Right. And I have noticed previously that tilting the saddle makes a good difference. Is that it?
The other thing that we can do on this saddle is also there's a nose tension piece, which fits a 6mm Allen wrench, and just a quarter of a turn or so we'll add, as we loosen the bolt, we'll add tension to the saddle, so if he feels like he's sliding down into it a little much, we can adjust it that way. But first, let's check that.
I feel like less pressure on my perineum.
I think
immediately I can notice that.
You had it up just a little bit. So. And then his Vortec rides, as the saddle tends to stretch, as it's a natural leather product, he can take a 6mm Allen wrench and he can adjust tension while he rides by turning out a quarter of a turn or so, that way.
Or the other way?
If you go the other way, it will soften.
Hello? I'm downstairs. Yeah. I think something is a little bit better for me because I've been getting a little bit too rigid feeling, and now it's a great idea that this kind of dial is possible while sitting and pedaling. I haven't seen that before in other saddles. So that it's a very interesting composite function.
It makes it easy to carry a wrench in the pocket.
And very easy to access.
Right.
Nothing is blocked.
Right.
So it's a very good ergonomic.
Okay, great. Those are the basic principles that we like to hit. The seat height, before, aft, and the tilt, and then the tension. Once we take care of that, then we can look at the length and the overall fit from there. But we want to make sure the rider's comfortable on that end of the bike.
The only other adjustment available on the saddle would be the right-left adjustment, and that would have to do with leg length, and that needs to be done with a professional.
Right.